crossing county lines just to make my name in the city. Took everything, put it on the line, cause I never break or back down. One shot is do or die. Welcome to the bottom of the bottom, me and seen the solemn. If I saw him and I had to get him, yeah, I probably got him. Corner boost and mix up the solution. I am such a problem, crazy goon and gone up that pollution with a group of goblins, super choppers, and they hoot and holler when we slipping dollars, losing partners. But if you started, we gon' finish it. Welcome to the wild side, you know what the business is. I'm a boss, I'm a king, I'm right on the top. I'm a boss, I'm a king, I cannot be stopped. I'm a boss, I'm a king, I'm right on the top. I'm a boss, I'm a king, I cannot be stopped. I'm a boss, I'm a king, I'm right on the top. I'm a boss, I'm a king, I cannot be stopped. I'm a boss, I'm a king, I'm right on the top. I'm a boss, I'm a king, I'm a boss, I'm a I am a king on the throne and I'm running the kingdom with all my ability, using my strength and agility. Money.
Put your hands up, everybody knows that. Don't hold back, got you on go jack. Go DJ, that's my DJ. Party on replay, party on replay.
Welcome to the bottom of the bottom, me and seen the solemn. If I saw him and I had to get him, yeah, I probably got him. Corner boost and mix up the solution. I am such a problem, crazy goon and gone up that pollution with a group of goblins, super choppers, and they hoot and holler when we slipping dollars, losing partners. But if you started, we gon' finish it. Welcome to the wild side, you know what the business is. Been running fast, crossing county lines just to make my name in the city. Took everything, put it on the line, cause I never break or back down. One shot is do or die. I'm a boss, I'm a king, I'm right on the top. I'm a boss, I'm a king, I cannot be stopped. I'm a boss, I'm a king, I'm right on the top. I'm a boss, I'm a king, I cannot be stopped. I'm a boss, I'm a king, I'm right on the top. I'm a boss, I'm a king, I cannot be stopped. I'm a boss, I'm a king, I'm right on the top. I'm a boss, I'm a king, I'm a boss, I'm a I am a king on the throne and I'm running the kingdom with all my ability, using my strength and agility. Money.
Put your hands up, everybody knows that. Don't hold back, got you on go jack. Go DJ, that's my DJ. Party on replay, party on replay.
Been running fast, crossing county lines just to make my name in the city. Took everything, put it on the line, cause I never break or back down. One shot is do or die. Welcome to the bottom of the bottom, me and seen the solemn. If I saw him and I had to get him, yeah, I probably got him. Corner boost and mix up the solution. I am such a problem, crazy goon and gone up that pollution with a group of goblins, super choppers, and they hoot and holler when we slipping dollars, losing partners. But if you started, we gon' finish it. Welcome to the wild side, you know what the business is.
Put your hands up, everybody knows that. Don't hold back, got you on go jack. Go DJ, that's my DJ. Party on replay, party on replay.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome. I see a few of you guys in here saying hello. Hello, Miss Tekla. Hi, Brooklyn in the house. Hi, Fabiana. So you guys, my name's Saria. I'm one of the founders of the Black Wealth Matters educational series and the creator. And just if you are joining us for the first time, we are going to talk to the speaker in a moment. But before we do that, let me just give you a little history of the series. We started this series in 2020 after the murder of George Floyd. And the reason why we started it was because we were looking at the importance of wealth in the Black community and how systemic racism has really been functioning, and how so often the result of it is a lack of money. So once we got clear that that was how things were happening, we all went on this quest of education, and we started looking around America for some of the best speakers and subjects and things that we were curious about. So we've been doing a series on college sports, and it's been amazing. We've had some great speakers, but I thought we could not go any farther without having the women that a woman that actually helped create a solid athlete. And so this conversation won't just be for parents. It's actually for aunts, for uncles, for anyone who has a kid in their family that they love, that they want to see go in the right direction, because she's going to give us just some great wisdom and words of advice and ways of thinking that we might be able to use to impact our communities as well, our local communities. So before we start, of course, we got to talk about money, because the intention of the entire series is to really get people into action in regards to creating wealth in their households. And my goal is that, I think of all of us as like umbrella carriers, right? If I'm the umbrella carrier, I can have an umbrella that's just small enough for me, or I can have a big umbrella that's big enough for my family. So my goal is to help educate, spark conversation, and create more curiosity so that we all can create bigger umbrellas and protect our families. So in terms of who we are, so you guys, we're World Financial Group, and the reality is after 2020, everyone got so curious about what they can do to make sure that they didn't end up on the wrong side of the next depression, recession, endemic, pandemic, whatever the next thing is. People wanted to figure out how could they create their own future. So finance has always been a lucrative industry. The problem is that it was not accessible for a lot of people. Even when I was in college as a finance major, it was me, another young lady, and then all guys, all men. And that's just not what America looks like. So one of the things that we're doing in our company is we're really trying to get more people in the financial sector, this amazing, lucrative industry where you can work from home and have all this freedom and still work for yourself, but not by yourself. So if you have any questions, of course, shoot us a text, or I'll drop my link in the chat as we get closer to the end too. But everything we do is based on referrals, including the Black Wealth Series, you guys. We do need more people to help promote it and share the word. Everyone who comes say that they learned some great things, and our speakers have been amazing. So as a company, one of the things that we're doing is we're teaching people the traits of success. And that's people skills, that's a desire to learn, that's coachability. A lot of athletes actually do well in our industry, and they've been doing well in finance from day one because of that coachability. But an entrepreneurial mindset is also important. So what we're doing is we're giving people this foundation of success so that we can ultimately help families create generational wealth. And generational wealth comes from two things. It comes from opportunities, and it comes from education. So in terms of our opportunity, right now, most people do need products and services. They need a platform. McDonald's is not a multi-million-dollar company because they have the best burgers, but they do have an amazing platform, right? People want to be compensated well. They want to be in part of something that is appreciated right now. So we think we have great timing. And then even still, everyone's not money motivated. And for those who aren't money motivated, we have great values. And even though people are making more money, and some of them aren't, but a lot of families are making more money, most households are still living paycheck to paycheck. And the statistics are bad, but what it ultimately creates is stress. We believe that families and a lack of financial security create stress. But what we all know is that financial security and independence does not come from how much money you make. It comes from that education. So what we're doing as a company, you guys, is we're helping middle income family. Now, what's awesome about the Black community is that the middle income is the tide that lifts all boats. Whether you look back in history to neighborhoods like Tulsa, and places like that, the middle income is what we had because of systemic racism, making it fairly hard for people to create that wealth. And still today, it makes it hard for us to create the wealth going the same routes as our counterparts. So the middle income has power in America, in the Black community especially. So what we do as a company is we strengthen that middle income by helping them understand how money works and also helping them build that foundation so that that foundation can ultimately be transferred. And then what is wealth, right? We're rewriting the narrative in terms of wealth, because if you look at social media, wealth is vacations, it's shopping, it's always doing something that requires money with your kids, with your family, with your husband, with your girlfriends. And we don't believe that. We want to change that story. We believe that wealth is financial independence. And we want, or the goal is financial independence. And that's where you're working because you want to work, not because you have to. And that requires living below your means. That requires having some financial discipline. And it also requires planning for your family in case you're not here. So those are some of the things that we help our families with. And how we do that is through education. So we sit, we educate people, we come back, we educate you a little bit more, but we start providing ideas and solutions. So as a company, our goal is not to hard sell. It's really to educate and create partners that can ultimately help us create some solutions for them that fit their lives. So in terms of education, let me give you guys some quick concepts. So if you have paper, take some notes. So the first one is the rule of 72. The rule of 72 is all about how to make your money double. So how it works is if you take 72 divided by the interest rate of whatever your investment is getting, it's going to give you a number. That number represents how many years it takes for your money to double. So let's fast forward to the end. At 6%, our money is going to double every 12 years. So if we invest $10,000 today, in 48 years, we're going to have $163,000. I mean, it's better than nothing. It's better than what the banks give us, right? But one of the biggest problems that we're having in America right now is the fact that most people are not even getting 6%, but those same families have credit cards charging 25%. They have car loans charging 12%, student loans charging 6%, mortgages charging 3 to 6%. And then there's that group, they're like, well, I don't have any debt. I'm debt free. I don't have debt. I'm good. We still got inflation and you don't have any say so in that. So it's very important that we make sure that our money makes money, because otherwise that debt is going to snowball us. And, you know, there's a such thing as a black tax, right? The black tax might be you having to help support your grandparents, or you having to help support your daughter who's a single mom. The black tax is us trying to equalize or level the playing field for the impact of systemic racism, right? And sometimes it causes procrastination. So what that looks like is, in this situation, we have a 30-year-old and a 40-year-old. They both saved for 25 years, the exact same amount, but because of the waiting, the 40-year-old is $78,000 less. His portfolio is $78,000 less than the person who started earlier. So why am I saying that? I'm saying that because life is tough. And a lot of times the middle income in the Black community are the groups that help everyone, but there's not necessarily someone to help you. So you do have to prioritize paying yourself first. And if you want to know more about that, that's where we come in. And then we have taxes. And I'm going to I'm just zipping through this. I almost thought I was running out of time, but we have some good time for Miss Kesha. So taxes, you guys. There's a book called The Whiteness of Wealth that talks about how, because of the way the tax codes have been created and legislated or molded or bended by the wealthy, that it ends up impacting people who work jobs a little negatively. So, and that's just what it is. Warren Buffett said it too. He pays less in taxes than his secretary, right? So we know that taxes are a big issue, and the more you make, the more taxes you pay, right? Except for the wealthy, because they figured out how to actually minimize those taxes. So one of the great things that we're doing here is we're helping our clients minimize the taxes. And the first way we do that is through how you earn income. Earning income as an employee and earning income as a business are two different things. America loves business owners. If you guys remember during 2020, PPP loans, everything, all the resources went to business owners. People got like $1,200 one time and then another $1,200. California, that's nothing, right? So then we take that tax advantaged income where we've reduced it, and then we can put it into investments where we don't pay any more taxes. That's one of the reasons why I came to this company, is because we're actually talking about tax advantage ways of making money and planning for your future. And in the interest of time, these are some of the companies we work with. I know you guys recognize those companies. I hope you guys recognize some of those companies. Put it in the chat if you recognize it. And we also have an opportunity. Remember, generational wealth is opportunity in education. I gave you a little bit about the education. If you're interested in learning more about the opportunity, we love to talk with you. I'll put my calendar link in the top. Oh, hi, Miss Nefertiri. I'll put my calendar link in the top, and then we'll go from there. So thank you guys, and let's go straight to Miss Kesha, because I'm excited to hear you talk. Hello, how you doing, Miss Laura? So good to see you.
Good seeing you again too.
Thank you. Thank you. So before we start anything, I guess a good introduction of yourself would probably be in order. And you guys, me and Kesha know each other from way back. We were college neighbors. Her college was the college 45 minutes from mine that we used to go party at. So, of course, I met her partying at her university. And wait, I stayed, right? Kesha, not Western.
No, I went to Illinois State. And
Okay.
you just go-guarded in my dorm room one day. Just happenly. We've been knowing each other ever since.
I probably ate up all your food too. But that's about right. Yes. And so, yes, her school was literally down the street. 45 minutes was nothing. And we had the pleasure of knowing each other. But I was looking at Facebook, because y'all know it's so easy to lose track of folks. I was looking at Facebook, and she was celebrating that her son got drafted to the NFL. And I thought that was a big deal. I just thought that was a big deal. I'm like, wow, this woman has raised a professional athlete. I have to talk to her. So, Kesha, can you tell them a little bit about your background before we start?
Sure. Again, my name is Kesha. I have been a mom for over 24 years. It's not necessarily who I am. I'm now starting to try to define who I am. It's just a part of me. But I have 3 sons. 2 of them are athletes. My oldest is a professional football player. And then my middle son is a collegiate football player. So he's in his COVID year. So he has 1 more year to go. And then I have one that does not play football, but he does do EA Sports. So he's in a different realm. So this is a new, different opportunity for us. But he's not an athlete, but we're treating it as he is an athlete.
Okay. What is EA Sports? Did you say EA?
Yeah, EA Sports. It's gaming. So he's on a
Oh,
gaming team. So he's on a gaming team. They have competitions, they get scholarship money, they get big payouts for winning. It's something that's new, and colleges are now starting to build teams on their campuses. So it's a different realm. So it's a new learning opportunity for me to get into, like, what is this? How do I navigate this? How can I give my kid the tools to be successful in this arena? So that's something new for that one.
I
But
love that. I didn't
yeah,
know that. And I love how you're embracing it immediately. You're like, oh, new opportunity. Don't mind if I do.
yeah, because it's really not about me. It's really about them. Once you become a parent, you get into the mindset of it's no longer about you. It's about them. Like, how can I make my child successful? I can't make them successful. All I can do is give them the tools, and they can only make themselves successful. But making sure I give them every opportunity, making sure I'm educating them and putting them in the good position to where they can navigate a space and be successful at it. But I can't make them be successful. That's their job.
Okay, now let's talk a little bit about how you grew up. What was your family background?
I had both my parents growing up. My grandparents owned a property in Oak Park. They bought a big apartment building. She had 6 sons, and we all lived there. So grandma raised us while the kids went off to work. So I always had cousins around. And then I went off to college. Well, all of my uncles were all military men, so I grew up in that regimented military type of family background. I went off to college. I was the first college graduate in my family. I got married in college. I had my 2 kids in college. So my middle one was in a car seat, at the graduation. So got married early. Their dad actually was a professional football player, so he played in the Canadian League. So football has been a part of my life for decades. And we got divorced young because we got married young. And so I was a single mom. So I had 2 boys, and I had a third one in a different relationship. And, I just been really raising them. And now they're older and they're getting out the house. My youngest one just graduated from college this past weekend. So now I'm an empty
What?
nester. Yeah. So now I'm an empty nester. So now I'm going into a different space. So
Mm-hmm.
that's pretty much me in a nutshell. So now
I
it's
love
all about
that.
me, and I'm defining myself and what I want to do and follow my passions now.
I like that. And what I also want to know is, in terms of the dad's um, professional sports career and his
Mhm.
contribution to the conversation, were you guys very strategic? Did you already have a game plan, or how did the game plan get developed in terms of them becoming athletes? And because and the reason why I'm asking is, I feel like athletes put balls in their kids' hand pretty early, but it does not mean that their kids become professional athletes by any stretch of the imagination. But athletes do kind of like lean their kids toward being athletes too.
Yeah. Well, first, we were both college students first. So a lot of people don't
Mhm.
understand that just because you was a college athlete doesn't mean you were rolling in money. You were just as broke as everybody else. So, like, I was an RA. I was buying meals and that type of thing. So, it didn't start out that way. But when we had kids in college, I came into it knowing, like, hey, I may not be able to pay for this kid to go to college. Like, I have college debt. Dad is he's still trying to get his career going. He's still trying to get to play. But when they were born, we had goals set for them already. Like my oldest one was 11 pounds. So he was a huge baby. So we looked at him and, like, okay, you obviously got thighs like a football player. You're gonna grow into something, so we had goals for them. We knew we did not want them debt free, and we did not want them financially struggling like we were. We wanted
Mhm.
them to be decent human beings. We wanted them to grow into being good fathers. We wanted them to be educated. So we had to use the tools that they were God's gifts, I would say, that they were given to try to accomplish those goals. So, we both, mom and dad, both came together and like, okay, this is what we mutually want for our kids. And that's
how did you even create that though? Because I feel like people don't even think you all were intentional. I feel like a lot of times what's missing in the conversation a lot is intention.
Yes.
Even as a financial professional, when I coach my team and my agents, I'm like, you got to be intentional about making money for yourself. You got to be intentional. Like nothing good happens
without a plan.
By accident. Yeah, it's like, what happens without a plan? The bad stuff. The stuff nobody wants. Like,
and that was our thing. We had to come up. That was our plan. From even when we got together and like, okay, we're finna have this family. We got to come up with a plan. And it was always goal set. Like, we're gonna have a baby shower, so we got to have these things done. Okay, we're finna have this baby. We got a birthing plan. We got to have these things done. And it was the same thing when they were born. When they were born, we came up with a plan. This is the things that we want for them to do. And you're right, it is intentional. And as parents, that's kind of your not responsibility, but that's kind of should be a parenting goal. It's like you want to be intentional with your children. You want to speak life into them, and you don't want them to repeat that cycle. We're talking about breaking those generational curses and stuff. We don't want them to repeat that cycle. So let's come up with a plan so we can avoid that. And, even after we separated and we went divorced, and that mutual plan, that goal still stayed the same. And I think that that's something that that is difficult when you're dealing with a co-parenting relationship, but you have to compartmentalize. And I think that we treated our children like, hey, this is a business, they're a brand. We have these goals for them. So regardless of how I think like you today, it's not about you. I can put those feelings into a little box. But when it's time to sit down and talk about, hey, what's the next step for, kid number 1 or kid number 2, it's the business. So, and we do that at work, like I don't like the girl across the aisle from me, but when I have to do a project, we got to come together and we got to get this done. So that's how we kind of went into co-parenting. Our kids were a brand, we were a team, and, we put our personal feelings to a side when it came to them as the business.
Wow, Kesha, that's so powerful. You guys, as I'm talking, feel free to just put in some questions in the chat. There's a part that says Q&A, but you could just put it in the chat. I see it. That's so amazing. Now, did you have that for yourself though?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
I'm honest when I say that I didn't have a plan for myself. I didn't have it growing up, but I knew that I didn't want that. You know how you graduate, you're like, okay, now what am I supposed to do? I felt that I didn't want that for them. So we had to come up with a plan for that. But now that's just what I'm saying. And now it's me trying to define and find myself and define who Kesha is. Kesha isn't just a mom anymore. Kesha is something different. So now I'm coming up with my own plan. I got my bucket list. I'm trying to do, coaching. I'm letting stuff roll off.
Athlete moms. You're helping athlete moms, right?
I learned so much through this process through my kids, and I found that it was such a disadvantage, especially with like people of color or even women. And so I'm like, now it's time for me to spread this information on to somebody else, because somebody else could benefit from this information. This information isn't out there. And, that's how whenever I see a good athlete, it could be a random stranger from at a game, I'll go up to the mom and say, hey, let's talk. I got this information from you. There's things that you need to be aware of. And, I've helped fathers do it too. So, this is a journey.
Yeah. You know what? I want to introduce you to Nefertari too. She's a single mom coach. she helps mothers create businesses. And I feel like when I heard you say this the first time, I was like, Kesha, this is a business. And you were like, yeah, well, I'm like, it's a business. So I'll definitely do an introduction. But in the meantime, is it okay if I give everyone your email if they want to reach out to you for the coaching?
No problem.
Okay, perfect.
No problem.
All right, awesome. So you said the baby has some thick little football thighs, and is that what made you guys? Is that what sparked it? You guys are like, okay.
We introduced them to every sport. We gave them every opportunity: soccer, baseball, t-ball, whatever. We just wanted them to be involved with different things. We wanted them to, because you can learn from just being on a team. You can learn about teamwork. You can learn about responsibility, being on a schedule. So it wasn't just about, they're going to play football. No, we introduced them to a plethora of everything.
Wow.
Yeah, my youngest one, he's not necessarily in sports, but he does kendo. So he's what's called a Japanese swordsman. So he's a kenshi. So he does that. So it's just exposing them to everything, and it just makes them a well-rounded person. It just gives them an opportunity to just expand themselves and know, hey, you can't just fit me in a box.
I like that. Now, that brings me up. I think you just answered one of my questions, which was, when did you realize? No, you didn't. When did you realize your son had talent? The oldest baby had the talent in football.
All three of them have talent. All three of them have talent. I didn't. We. It's kind of like we didn't realize that. It was more like, he's really good. It wasn't that he didn't have talent. Is that we've always pushed him into doing things, and we always exposed him to do everything. So we knew he was capable. But when he really got to the point where he was like, this kid is really good. That was probably, when probably around maybe 6th grade, junior high is when we just like, he's really good. But, we've always groomed him or groomed them to be good at things. So it's just when they really become pop. But there is a big difference between playing a sport and being an athlete. There's a big difference. So you can go to high school and play football, but are you an athlete? An athlete is overall, you're thinking about your grades. You have a plan for yourself. You're trying to develop yourself. You're going to practice after practice. That's an athlete. You're carrying yourself a certain way. You're being a leader in the hallway. That's an athlete. Anybody could play football, but can you be an athlete? And so we try to train them to become athletes.
And how did you even learn that?
That's not common knowledge. No, but it goes back to the goals. You want them to be a decent human being. You want them to be a good father, being a leader. You want them to be successful. You want them to be debt free. So which means you got to keep your grades up. So it's back to the general goal for yourself, and those things develop them into athletes.
Okay, got it. I love that. Now you keep saying good father. Why not good husband?
That's probably because I don't have one. So I don't know how to teach them to be that, but I want them to be good fathers,
But you weren't a professional athlete and you chartered that chart.
That's a compartment, that's back to that compartmental box. We're going to put those feelings in a box. But I think that when they're surrounding themselves, and I think that their dad gives them good tools. I can't make them be a good father. I would want them to be a good father, but that's their dad. Their dad gives them those tools. I give them different tools. And so it goes back to that co-parenting relationship. You know what I mean? Like we have goals for our kids. So they see what a good father is. They know what a good father is because I can see when they talk about their dad, their face lights up. You know what I mean? Aww. When they're around their little cousins, they do all the little, cute, like, they do those things. I know they know what a good father is, but that goes back to the co-parenting relationship. But I want them to be good. I want them to be good fathers.
Okay. I want them to be good husbands. I want them to be good husbands, Kesha. Make them a good husbands too.
Well, I want them to be good people. I want them to be decent human beings. So I think that if you
but I love the way that but you know what I'm seeing that we just got to be intentional about all of it. And I love the language that you're using. And if I'm tweaking it, it's just out of love, because I'm like, we do need more husbands in our
Yeah.
girl.
They have
We
good
need more
role
husbands.
models too. That's another thing, is that I put them in positions where they have good role models. Like when they got to a certain age, most of their babysitters were men. They were like other Greeks in town, because I couldn't teach them how to be men, but I needed resources myself. So I know there's going to be an age where I may have to have a conversation with them when dad's not around. So I need these guys to tell me, okay, how do I approach this? Like, how do I say this? Or I can't have this conversation, or maybe you're not comfortable with talking to mom, but let's go talk to Mr. So-and-so. Let's go talk to Mr. Lewis or something like that. So I did keep those tools in place for them. So
Which
if
is
they needed
awesome.
them.
And you know what? And what's awesome is that you really, it sounds like you went out of your way to make sure you had some good, high quality men around so that they can see that. And I'll be honest, I don't know if I necessarily see people being intentional about making sure that their kids have those good role models. You know, like some parents are just amazing. They do it in their sleep, but a lot of folks, they're just trying to get through. They're trying to survive, right? So I love that you're doing that. Now, Kiana's asking, did any of the children become or do something other than sports? The baby is doing something other than sports, right? Yeah. And when the oldest was talented in football in 6th grade, was he talented in something else? Because I know Michael Jordan was good at a lot of things. So did you guys have to kind of pick a path, or what happened there?
My oldest one's path is not traditional at all. My oldest one plays football, but he was known for wrestling. Like he wrestled for 3 years straight. He went to state 3 years. Like he was this top ranked wrestler in his class for Illinois. So he was known for wrestling. And then one day he was just like, I think I want to play football. I'm like, it's a senior year. Like, we haven't sent you to any camps, or we were focusing on wrestling. Like wrestling was going to be his path. But he switched gears on us, so we had to switch gears with him. And now we gotta get some film together. Now we gotta, get it in front of the right people. And just so happens someone wrote an article and called him Illinois' biggest football sleeper, and college coaches saw it, and they came when he went to Missouri State. And that coach that recruited him actually came to his wrestling meet and recruited him there. So he didn't even see him play football like in person. He saw him at a wrestling meet. So the funny thing about my oldest one is when he was in college, like around your sophomore, junior year, just traditionally, we always start thinking like, well, man, what am I want to do with my life? It's like, do I really want to do this for the rest of my life? Even though he was playing football, he had the exact same epiphany, like, all of my life, all of my hobbies have been sports, and I don't really have any other hobbies. So he went through that whole, well, I want to try this, I want to try that. So he took pottery classes, like he took yoga, he took, and he really loves art. So that kind of got him thinking like, hey, I think I really want to do this after football. But long story short, like things just started falling into place with him. So that's how he got onto this professional path, but it wasn't expected. I was expecting him to come home and, take a year off, take a break, but football just picked up. Senior Bowl, he got it selected to. Now we're in a draft, and it was just a roller coaster. So it's not traditional. But Marcellus, on the other hand, which is my middle one, he does have outside interests. Like he's really into construction work. He loves welding. Like he loves those, he has a different path, and he's always had a path since high school. He said, if I don't get recruited to a college for football, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to get all of these trades, and I'm going to do this. So, and he still keeps that in his back pocket. Like, hey, if football doesn't work, I still got another path that I could go down. So to answer the question, yeah, my kids do other things outside of sports, but sports is the car that's going to get them to where they want to go.
All right. Now let's talk about where you live because you're in Bloomington, right?
Yeah, I'm in Central Illinois, so it's 2 hours south of Chicago, and it's 3 hours north of St. Louis. So we're right in the middle.
Yeah. And you guys, what that, and we'll get to that question. So, why I'm bringing that up is because one of the very interesting things about Chicago is that it's a big metropolitan city, very urban, very majority Black. But then outside of that, it's not so much. It's my first time being exposed to the Ku Klux Klan was at Bradley. They had
Right.
a guy had a channel that he would talk about those types of things, and then he would um, put up flyers and all these really nasty things. And
Mhm.
not too long ago, I want to say after COVID, I'm sure you remember probably exactly when, a young guy who was in college, a medical student at I-State, was found missing.
Mhm.
Well, he was missing, and they mutilated his body. They cut his genitalia. They sawed off his jaw. They took all of his organs out. And the reality is that we're still around a lot of sundown towns in the Midwest, right? So, how do you address that for your son and have those conversations so that um, he can stay safe? Or what do you talk about that with him?
Yeah. So the young man you're talking about, his name was Jelani Day. He was a member of Omega Psi Phi here in town, and it was a big deal just about how the investigation took place, and we still don't have answers on exactly what happened with him, but everybody knows that something did happen with Jelani. But I've always had those conversations. Like most parents, we have to have the talk with them. I had to teach my kids early that they were always in it. I loved where I lived because they could go outside and they could be safe. That's another reason why I kind of didn't want to move back to the big cities, because I didn't want to have the stress of, are they going to come home today? Are they all right? I didn't want to keep them in the house. I wanted them to be able to go outside, ride bikes, have like a 90s lifestyle. So they kind of had that here, where they could go and play in the cul-de-sac. But I did have to have those talks to let them know, like, hey, you're bigger than everybody else. So, my kids were always a head taller than everyone else. So you can't just play rough with normal kids because you could hurt them.
Mhm.
Or if you were with your buddy and you all were doing something, you're going to get looked at as the aggressor, or you're going to get looked at as the one who started it, or you're the one who provoked or put the other one up to it. Is it fair? Absolutely. Should I expose them to those things when they were younger? In reality, you wish that you never do, but you have to. But those are conversations that, unfortunately, we have to have. With Marcellus, when he learned how to drive, it was the most terrifying time for me. And I wouldn't let him drive. Like, I would come up with every excuse in the world on why I wouldn't let him use my car. And it was only because you're 6'5", you're 15 years old. But is the police going to look at that and see that? No, they're going to think you got an AR-15 in the back of the minivan. I don't. Unfortunately, that's what I'm afraid of. I'm afraid of just because they're bigger. My kids are big boys and they look older than what they are, and I have a different type of stress when you're dealing with an athlete that large. You know what I mean? That is not only now I'm dealing with the color of your skin, now I'm dealing with you look older than what you are, and I don't want you getting in trouble. So we had to have those conversations. And even with his teammates that looked like him, who were African American, you can't hang out with certain kids. You know what I mean? Like, you have a talent, you have a future, like, you've been recruited. They don't, which means that they don't have anything to lose. Can't just go to parties with them. You know what I mean? Like, it's an unfortunate conversation, but those are conversations I really did have to have. I had to teach them, if you go to somewhere and it doesn't feel right, it's time for you to leave. you know, and it's because not only because it's for your safety, but because you have a lot more to lose than the average person does. You know, like you may not want to go to the parties every weekend. You may want to just stay at home, chill, hang out, because you have more to lose than anybody else. I watch a lot of podcasts about athletes, and Mark Sapp gave an example that Tony Dungy told him that he said he never forgot. Tony Dungy told him how you stay out of trouble as an athlete is that you got to leave women alone that you don't know or know too well. You can't go out past midnight. You can't be plus 15, which means that you can't speed past 15 miles an hour, and you shouldn't have a gun in a car or drugs in the car. And he said if you follow those 3 rules and stay away from those 5 things, then you will be okay in the NFL. And then once I heard that, I'm like, man, that is definitely true. You know what I mean? So it's like little lessons like that I had to teach my kids when they were younger, to get them prepared for where they are now, so they can continue to be successful.
That's amazing. And
I'm intentional, I didn't even realize I was doing that on purpose. I'm sorry.
What do you mean?
I mean, now that I'm talking about it, now that I'm saying this out loud, I really have been purposely putting things putting things into place for where they are now. And I never noticed that. I never realized that's what I was doing until like right now. Like that's crazy.
It's good though. So I have another question that is in regards to when they're little, and then we'll go on to the high school and college and all that good stuff. Extracurricular activities cost money. What ideas or any tips you would give people to any tips that you would give parents, because it's not even about single parents. You can have dual income parents who can't afford all these extracurricular activities. What would you recommend, or what's the real conversation that needs to be had there?
Planning. You do have to plan. You have to sacrifice a little bit. What I mean, I can give you an example. I never got my nails done regularly until my kids went away to college. To the older 2 went away to college. Just that little $40, $50 manicure or pedicure that you get each month, that's a camp that you can send your kid to. That's a pair of gloves that they need, you know.
Wow.
So it's like little sacrifices like that. When my older 2, they eat a lot. They burn energy a lot.
Yeah.
And I had to go to food banks to get supplemental food for them because they just ate so much.
Smart.
And I had to humble myself, like, oh my God, I cannot believe I'm going to a food bank. But it's not about me. It's about them. You know, so like I had to find resources, and, you know, like I had sorority sisters that work for like different places, like, you know, where I can get extra this and extra that from, and they would help me find those resources. So it's planning. Again, it goes back to the co-parenting with dad. We knew that we needed to do camps for the summer. We kind of set a budget on which ones we were going to pay for, who's going to pay for what. I'll cover this, you can cover that. It came up with a plan, but it sacrificed a lot. Your career, I sacrificed a lot of my career. Like I couldn't. With my career, I always took positions in my job where I had a stable schedule because I had to be available to get them to practice. I had to be able to pick them up from school. I had to get them to, you know, this training lesson. I had to get, you know, I wanted to be available for games. So there were some positions, you know, the higher up you go, you have those longer hours. You have to be able to be mobile and be able to travel. And, you know, I had to sacrifice that. I lost a lot of extra money and income because I had to be available for them. So it hasn't paid off yet. Well, it has, but those are things, you know, those are things that a lot of people don't think about, that sometimes you do got to sacrifice a lot for yourself if you want to make your athlete successful. But yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. And what about the mental health concerns around playing football? Not even the physical, because I know there's a lot of physical concerns too. How do you guys deal with that? What is there a strategy for that?
Yeah, I always check in on them to see how they're doing. Like, as a mother, you can look at them, and you can tell when something's not right or something's wrong with them. Sometimes I have to be that cheerleader for them and, get not the hype man, but, like, man, you got to look at, all the things that you've accomplished. Like, I have to do that a lot with my oldest one. Like, he's really hard on himself when he's not number one. And, I used to have to talk them into like, look, you got to be happier where you are. And you have to like, look at the success that you have had. It is lonely being an athlete. A lot of people don't understand that because you can't do everything that everybody else can do. You have your life is regimented. Like you have to get up, you got to go work out, you got to get to class, you got to come back, you got team meetings, you got this, you got that. And, you don't always get to live that college life. And sometimes that can get lonely. Everybody, their friendship group is different. One thing that I'm learning with my oldest is that all of his life, all of his teammates were his friends. He's never been on a team where a person got cut before. But when you go in the NFL is a business. Like you can't, the person that you get used to may get cut tomorrow. He never experienced that before. So, just talking through that mental piece. So I had to, you do have to check on them. Like, hey, are you okay? Like, how are you doing? Like, did you need anything? Like, you're not looking like yourself. Sometimes you got to give them that pep talk and, get their head right. Sometimes you just got to get in the car and go visit them. And sometimes just, being there around their parent or being around their family, it does help. But athletes do go through a lot of mental challenges. And, one thing is just being aware of it and letting them know that it's okay to feel this way. And if they need help, you're always there available for them. And if not, you can find resources for them. I've been fortunate that I had built some good relationships with coaches. My middle son lost his grandmother, who he's really close to. I called the coach and said, hey, we got to let Marcellus know that his grandma passed. Like, how can we do this? And he's like, well, let me get him. Let me just be in the office with him. I'll be there for him. So, you got to give them the tools again. It goes back to giving them the tools to help them be successful.
Wow. Oh my God, Kesha, you are so amazing. Kiana says so too. She says you're amazing. So no, you're so, this is amazing. And I always say it takes two people to make one person successful. It really does. It takes two people. If one person becomes successful by themselves, they are a juggernaut. But it does take two people to make one person successful. And Beyonce and her mama, right? Yeah. a lot of our trillionaires and billionaires, it was them and their wives, right? It wasn't just them. It takes a lot. It takes that intention, but it also takes that push and that support from that person that nobody's necessarily looking at, who's navigating everything. Yeah. Now, how do you feel about the NIL world, the name, image, and likeness world? And do you know how that came about?
No, but I know how it went away. So back in the day, like back in the 90s, like they was getting money from boosters, and so it went away. And so like when I was in college back, when I was explaining to you earlier, like when their dad was in school, NILs, that booster money was like a no. If you they couldn't even give you $2 or you could lose your scholarship.
Well,
but
the boosters.
Boosters are like alumni that will support the athletic program. So those are what's called boosters. Now boosters they're forming I can't think of the name of it, but they're forming like organizations now that help raise money for NIL deals. So
Oh,
so it's a different realm now. And I had to educate myself on that. Like what is the NIL? How does it impact NCAA rules? Like what are the what are the cans and cannots? Kids are getting agents now to help with their NIL deal. So it's a different realm out there now. But
yeah.
I think I think the NILs are good because, again, like a lot of kids, when you're a college athlete, you really barely have enough money to buy food, but you're expected to keep a certain weight. You're expected to lift weights. You're expected to do all these things, but you still, don't have enough to food to supplement yourself. Or, if you got a car, Lord forbid, if you got a car, you got to get gas and that type of thing. So I think NILs are good, but I also think NILs could sometimes give schools advantages. Like if they got a real good alumni network that's raising a whole bunch of money, they can easily scoop up all of the athletes. So it's kind of like uneven the playing field. But NIL deals are they're here and they're making a difference in the college realm. I can definitely tell you that. But I think that where it's going to go bad is when parents are looking for the NIL deal versus looking out what's best for your kid's situation. We want to go to a place that, well, this school offered this money, this school offered that money. Right. But is your kid going to be fighting to play every year because they get so much talent? Is your kid going to be in a position to where they're going to be able to develop their skill and be able to get to the next level, or they're going to be constantly on the bench, because you're chasing an NIL deal. So it's like a good balance. And you have to be able, as a parent, you have to be able to, one, look at the bigger picture and be able to help your child navigate and see the bigger picture. Like it's not always about chasing this bag. Do you want this little 100,000, or do you want to put yourself in a position to where you can make 100 million? So it's having that maturity and that mentality to help your kid, again, giving them the tools so that they can navigate that situation for themselves.
You guys, I want to just give a recap of the NIL. So this whole series has pretty much been about the NIL space. And what was happening was the athletes were trying to organize and unionize, right? So that they can get paid from the actual proceeds of the universities.
Right.
Like NCAA in the month of March 2023 made $1 billion. They make that money from black-led sports like football and basketball. However, when they were trying to unionize, the folks were like, no, we're not going to give you any money from that, but you can become a social media star. I didn't get it. I still don't get it. But I'm like, why can't you just give them money from that? But it's a lot of greed. And you're right in terms of them doing all the sacrificing. I noticed that when I was in college, our athletes didn't get to go home during none of the holidays. They were they just had a whole different life. And I was like, my gosh, you guys are earning all of this because you don't get the same college experience, right?
Nope.
Now, what would you like to see as a change in the world of sports that would make it more equitable, fair, less racist? Because I think right now we're seeing a lot of racism towards athletes. And did your son experience any of that he shared with you?
Not necessarily in athletics, but
just
being in just being like a regular school environment, like he did get. My oldest one is a darker skin, so he, had a lot of colorism issues, that type of thing. But to make it fair, and I'm not just speaking like we're racing just regarding race, but just female sports as well. I think that of course, there needs to be more resources given towards women in sports.
What do you mean?
Meaning that, so like a couple of years ago, they had the NCAA women's basketball tournament. So if you've ever been to an NCAA men's basketball tournament, they get all of the amenities. They get, showered with gifting, suites, and they get all of the sports, like exercise equipment and everything that they need to do. But when you go to a women's basketball tournament, they don't get as much. So to be equitable, yes, men's sports make the most money for the university, but a lot of that money could go towards the women's side as well. Yeah, to help build that brand as well.
Yeah.
So think that but that starts with us. Like, we have to start supporting that. We have to start exposing our daughters just as much as we expose our sons to sports. We got to start exposing our little girls to sports. Like, I'm always like that. Like, a couple of my friends have cheerleader daughters. I'm like, you don't like basketball? Like, you don't like basketball? And we have to change our mentality about that. Like, now they have women's wrestling. Oh, I wish they had.
I see a lot of that. You would have did it.
No, if they had, because my sons wrestle. So if they had it when I was growing up, I would have been a beast at it. But they have, they have things like that now. They have.
I see it. I see it all the time with the little girls wrestling.
Yeah, they have women's flag football, which is now becoming to be a college sport. So I would, I think that I would like to see more support and more financial assistance thrown behind that. As far as like racism in sports, it is what it is, but it's about how you make your children aware that this is what it is. You have to make sure that they understand that you have to protect the brand. So if this guy calls you out your name, it's not about him. It's not about the man. It's about the mission. You got to look past that. You can't get emotional when it comes to that. Yes, this is wrong, but we got attorneys for that. You know what I mean? Like, we can handle that a different way. But you got to protect yourself, and you got to protect your brand. So I think that just making your kids aware that, hey, there are some people who have totally different mentalities when it comes to color, and they may feel this way about you. But you have to be able to identify when it's happening to you and be able to navigate it in a correct and appropriate way. So, unfortunately, how they used to say that, like Black athletes, when they would look like they're on the bidding block from slavery. When my kid was going through the combines, and even when my high school kid was going through college, I did feel that. But but I looked at it like, we're gonna use what we got to get what we want. You know what I mean? So if you need to feel his thigh to make sure, like, oh man, this, he gonna grow up big and he's gonna be this. We're gonna not, I know that it's wrong to think that, like, we're gonna look past this man, but we're gonna look at the mission. And so I think
it's not wrong. Whatever makes you, whatever allows you to get through it. But ultimately, I would love, at the end of the day, we have more Black folks actually owning sports teams and in the NCAA, so that we can make it more equitable. Because unfortunately, the people who have created it are okay with it being the way that it is. So, all right, you guys, we have hit our time limit. You guys have Kesha's email up at the top in the chat. It was such a pleasure. Thank you so much, Kesha. You have really, you're so inspiring. I'm so excited for you, especially with your new venture. I think you will do amazing things. Try to do more of these so people can get to know you and see how awesome you are.
And just listening to you in the beginning, I was writing down all these notes, and I'm like, oh man, like, these are some real jewels. So thank you for sharing all of that. And I'm like, I may need to have a conversation with Sierra, because I think I need to learn some more about that, because that was awesome in the beginning too. I need to make sure that I let my moms know, hey, when it comes down to financial planning, I need you to talk to somebody. So,
all right, absolutely. We'll have to circle back, but definitely thank you so much. I appreciate it. Have an amazing rest of the day. Goodbye, y'all. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.